everyone. Welcome to the Solis Game Studio YouTube channel, or welcome back if you've been here before. Today, our stream is very special. We are doing a Terrene Odyssey 10 years later. I am your host, Vidi, and I'm joined today by Jack and Saris. Jack helped playtest the game at the beginning of development and did some fun little things at the very early development of Terrene Odyssey, and Saris was one of the original developers. If you guys want to give a little intro of yourselves.
Who wants to go first?
I am good. Okay. I'm Jack. Quick thing, I backed it on Kickstarter. I wasn't there like at the beginning, but I was there basically right before it actually made it like stateside and involved with a lot of the development that followed that.
Kickstarter mistakes. My name's Saris. I got involved a little bit, not at the very, very beginning of the development, but I was still there when there were paper cards and hand-drawn placeholder art at the beginning, pulled in by Chris Solis, the main guy. So brought me in to help playtest cards, see how the game feel was. Eventually, I was there doing balance and helping to create effects when, let's say, the effect on card wasn't working or too strong, things like that.
Cool. Yeah, so I think today we're just going to talk a little bit about the development of the game and what it was like in its earlier stages and Kickstarter and at the beginning when it was growing in popularity, and then we may or may not play a game or a little tutorial, whatever we have time for. So where do you guys want to start off? At the beginning or wherever you came on for the game?
Okay. Well, I kind of already explained where I started.
Yeah.
But what kind of hooked me about it, the very first build was very brutal. If you played a lot of games, if you like the min-max stuff, the first build was super, super brutal. So you could kill people before they got to go. And that's when I was like, okay, I can get into this. But the thing is, since you get to pick your own cards, it didn't feel as bad when you get turn one comboed, because you have an opportunity to interact usually, because you pick your other opening hand, you can respond to things other people are doing. So if you can kind of guess the little turn one thing, you could kind of put a wrench in it, and if they put all their resources into it, now they just die on the crackback. So there's still a risk of trying to do that, and that's kind of what got me hooked. It was one of the first playtests I did. Yeah.
If you had to pitch Terrene Odyssey to a brand new player today, how would you describe the game?
Do they play card games? Is this different?
Sure.
Card games, or are they board game players?
We can assume that they have general board game and card game knowledge.
Okay. If it was someone who liked doing competitive card games, I'd probably pitch it as a game where the luck factor is minimized, since you get to kind of choose your opener and you get more control over how the rest of the game goes.
Okay.
If I was to pitch it to someone who likes board games, I would say it's a battle card game that simulates an RPG. So if you like playing, your basic party games, this is a really fun representation of that. You can level up your characters, pick your party, and fight your friends.
Okay. Is it always 1v1?
Yeah.
There's
That's
a 2v2
I think
variant, isn't there?
there's a 2v2 variant, yeah.
Okay.
That came later, though.
If I were to pitch it, I'd focus on the squad-based aspect of it, because that is something that's kind of unique, especially with the starting team composition. But for anyone that is nostalgic for the PS1 Dreamcast era of JRPGs, this is a love letter to that general genre.
I can definitely see that.
Depending on
with the characters in the front row, having your party and everything is kind of neat.
It's really nice. I got into it. I was getting tired of playing Magic for a number of reasons, and I was looking for something sort of new. And a buddy of mine boosted the signal for the Kickstarter. Who I think he used to know Chris through playing Yu-Gi-Oh! And so I looked into it, and I couldn't not back it, and I probably backed it at a higher level than I should have. We'll talk more about that later. But nothing against the game as I say that. It's just it was one of those weird. I was saving up to go teach English abroad, and I had a long day at work, and it impulse backed this at a very high level with some of the savings that I'd had for that. So my life forked in a different direction because I
Oh
backed this game.
wow, that's kind
That's
of
interesting. I
neat
didn't even know
though.
that.
Yeah, and I don't really regret it or anything like that. Like I've published a game separately and stuff like that, and I don't know if I would have gone down that path if I hadn't like impulse backed Terrene Odyssey. Um, and I still enjoy playing it today if I can get someone to sit down with me and like go through it. Um, and it's a lot easier now that there are draft rules for it too. But yeah, no, I think it's a really solid game, and I thought it at the time, and I was always really impressed with the different strategies that can come out of the same toolkit because you get all of the cards in a single box.
Yeah, it seems like there are a ton of different decks here. Are all of the decks that are on the board here, they come in one box?
The components for them.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm not sure. So there's bonus characters here that get added for the Kickstarter. I don't know if you could make all of these decks exist at once,
Oh
but you
yeah.
can make any of the decks, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. That's kind of cool.
There's so
So
many.
it is like an LCG, like Legend of the Five Rings or something like that.
Yeah. You get all the cards in a single box. So
Neat.
some of making. Some of these are like Sue. I think. What's her name?
You're talking about
I got
the
what was her name?
round
The
headed
Sky Bloom.
person
That's her
or
name. Yeah.
oh,
Yeah, because some of
Skybloom's
these
great.
were characters that people like they would back, and then they had like a specific thing they wanted the characters to be able to do. So it's interesting to design those cards.
Oh, so like the people that backed at that level, they could have a card of their own kind of and see it in the game.
Yeah, I think yours was like that too, Jack. Right?
Yep, that is exactly how this guy came to be. I think Chris talked to me about it, and he's like, "So we need someone for a guardian and give us a theme." I was like, "I like lightning storms." He's like, "Great, we'll work with that." And now I dual wield shields, and that is part of my brand.
That's awesome though. Did you pick any of like the stats or abilities on the character, or it was just mainly like the concept?
Mostly the concept. I think was it Megan Cheever was the artist for it. So I saw a couple of thumbnails for what it might look like and things like that. But I think what Chris was trying to do at the time is he wanted like a backer hero for each of the card archetypes. So we've got a spellcaster. I think we had a tactician. Could be wrong about that. There was an assassin and a couple of other things. But yeah, no, I think the original idea for Jack was that he would just be a Spikes deck, which Spikes is a card that punishes people for throwing characters in that don't meet a certain elemental alignment. And I didn't even look at Spikes. I just like found out that I could use him to soak damage and decided to throw a bunch of really frail glass cannons behind him and see what would happen.
Nice.
I would later put Spikes in because that was a good idea, but
Yeah.
Putting the double shields to the test.
Yeah, we wanted him to be able to like be a big bulwark to try to get by, because the Guardians were kind of almost required if you didn't want to get blown up. So you'd pick your starting party. They're basically the tank.
Mm-hmm.
And so we just made him like a really big, beefy tank that could make you have to hit him. Because, like I said, it was like magic. So you have to attack the person. And then there were spells that could target characters, but they usually are not going to right out kill it like magic does, because of the way the characters work in this game. That would really be really mess up the game balance, let's say. And,
Sure.
so we wanted to give him an ability to redirect those to him, and I think it's the only character that does it in the set. So it worked out pretty well. I think I've made a Jack deck before.
So
funny.
when you go into like balancing these characters, what are some of the first things that you would look at and think maybe it was too OP or something like that?
Well, there's a good example right here for it with Sammy. We wanted to make her. I actually messed this card up. This is an example of a card I messed up at the end. So sometimes you can hear examples of cards escaping playtesting. And most of the time when I hear those stories, it's because, someone was like, we're going to change this one thing at the end. And then it just doesn't work the way you think it does.
Yeah.
So this card, for an example, was a card that when you hit, if you hit a player, it would just give something else haste until end of turn. And that it wasn't like, it didn't seem like it was impactful enough compared to the other warriors when they hit you. So I think I added the action, and it just made the card kind of off the rails insane because you hit somebody and then you get 2 actions. So there's like, I made this card that you can never ever let hit you ever, or you'd probably die by getting buried under the action. So
if it makes you feel better, she's one of my favorite cards in the game.
Yeah, I bet.
Probably for a lot of people, I would assume at that.
Also,
that
me
point.
too. Yeah.
Well, she synergizes really well because there's a terrain that will produce an extra action if you've got 2 wind element characters. So that, in conjunction with another wind element character, means you get a lot of extra utility out of your turn, which isn't not the kind of thing that I would try to abuse. But it's fun.
Is it not? Yeah.
How many different elements are in the game?
6, I believe.
6.
Yeah, so Earth, Wind, Water, Fire, Dark, and Light.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I think there's a cycle for like each element, but I don't think there wasn't a light and dark cycle at the beginning.
So you just had the 4?
Yeah. And then the light and dark, I think,
like
added.
Beasts and like interdimensionals are mostly like dark and light, right?
No, there's a beast. There's a beast for each element. I don't know if there's a light beast though. That's the thing. Like, I think they got. Is there? Yeah. So like, there wasn't always. That's why my memory's bad. That's why it's messing me up here. So, but yeah, it was fun adding those. I remember having to add those, trying to figure out. So for each element, we wanted them to be doing something specific, and we kind of messed with the stat lines with each character. So like, we messed with the fire character stat lines, and that was probably a mistake.
Like all of them as a whole?
Yeah, they have like, I think they all have less health, like 5 less health and 5 more attack.
Okay.
Maybe less defense. But it's there's this thief character we made that we just pumped up the attack to 15, but the thieves have this special interaction. When they hit you, a character, they get to like take an item or take something, or basically mess with your opponent's stuff. So if you see this Talon guy, he deals damage to a character, they get to like discard a card from
He steals it, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's kind
of cool. If it's an item, he steals it. If it's not, yeah. But their stat line was 10. Specifically, most people, like I said, have a guardian, so you would just block it with the guardian. So the thief had to figure out a fun, like a little game to try to get your thief to be able to actually deal damage to a character to steal the thing. Right? Because these guys start at 10, so that means maybe I have to attack first. So we block with things in this game, they lose defense. So maybe I'd have to attack first to lower the defense to then attack again. Then you're stuck deciding whether you're going to take the damage to your face, or if you're going to block. I think the red one has like 15 attack or something, so you just don't have to do that.
Yeah,
and I remember now.
If you're familiar with Magic and you know the card Ragavan, you know that these thief effects are so strong.
Yeah. And so,
but even then, you've got a lot of things that'll boost defense too, so it's not broken.
Yeah, it's just really, really good because his effect was, I think he just does damage to you. He like takes an item from your graveyard and he uses the effect and this does 10 damage to you. It's messed up. So it's definitely something you should be trying harder to do rather than you're getting a free pass on. You know,
For sure.
I wasn't thinking about that. Yeah, his name is Chogan the Scrounger. Yeah, you banish an
Ooh,
item from your opponent's discard. You resolve its effect for free, and then they take 10 damage.
nice.
Bonkers.
That sounds a little bonkers.
Yeah, what if Ragavan took your card, used it for free, and then also you took damage anyway? Yeah, cool.
Would you
Thanks
say
for
that like the overall game is balanced? Like everyone kind of gets some OP stuff and some not?
Well, since everything's in the box, um, it's not that much of a problem if things are that overpowered. You know, he's like, oh, I'll just use my own Chogan. But like, there's how would you say, Jack? Would you think about it through elements, what elements have, or what classes have, or maybe what archetypes?
I think classes might be so. Elements are important as they interact with the terrains. But the classes seem more important than the element. You've got like iteration of each element in most classes, and your group composition can change because you're usually going to build your deck around whoever your hero is. And my Jack deck is primarily a spellcaster deck, but Jack leading a spellcaster deck is fundamentally different from Orin or Skybloom, who are actual spellcasters leading a spellcaster deck. I don't think it's unbalanced specifically because you're able to control your starting composition. So one of the problems that you'll run into in Magic is the idea of mana screw or mana flooding. And that doesn't that doesn't happen here for a couple of reasons. One, you've got the same number of actions per turn, but more importantly, you're going in with an opening strategy. And whether you're going first or second, you'll have different team compositions. And a meta is going to develop if you do play with the same people at length. So I don't think there's an issue of balance. There's some cards that will play less. So for example, I have a hard time making the tactician class work, but Saris was talking earlier about just fun things that he had done with them. But I will do obnoxious things with thieves or spellcasters or even warriors or other things, depending.
It was interesting. One of the other guys that was working on it, his name was Nathan. He actually found a combo deck where you just go off.
Like an infinite combo?
Yeah,
Like on turn one, or does it take some assembling?
it definitely takes some assembling. Even though you get to assemble 8 pieces, there's a ability called Resourceful. Did we have to change it? I don't know if we had to change it. I'll have to look at the rulebook again. But at one point, there's an ability called Resourceful. There's still a Resourceful ability in the game, but it used to make it so that your items, that the items and the abilities that character activated were free.
Okay. Yeah, that would definitely make a combo.
Yeah, the thing is, like, if you look at these terrains, big part of the game is a lot of your deck revolves around your terrain as well. See these level ups? You get 1 XP, 2 XP. So one of those things was gain Resourceful. Was it till the end of turn? For some amount of time, but basically you have to kill a bunch of stuff. What's that?
It's one of the storms that does that, isn't it?
It might be, which would make a lot of sense, because it's just a really, really good effect, but it's not one that you give out very often. But he was like, "Oh yeah, I can do this, and I can do this, and I'll just go through the deck, and then I'll win by doing this." And I forgot, I forgot the whole combo was. But I was like, "What the heck is this? Silly business."
That's crazy. Hi, Brian. Good to see you. We have talked about Sammy the Agile, and they did bring up that she is the best character, or one of the very strong ones, at least.
And
Great.
when we talked about Chogan too.
Yeah. Are there any other characters that come to mind as like super strong?
So I use this one to be pretty obnoxious, but Shade, the rejuvenative always heals when you draw. And the synergy there is ridiculous because blue, or the water element as a rule, likes making you draw. And since damage is something that lingers, the fact that she can actually keep your guardians around longer can make her very obnoxious. So, for example, the synergy between her and Ashen, who you can use an action to just draw a card, chains really easily. And you've got a lot of really nice, like, often squishy, but utility characters that will just gas up the entire deck.
This seems so annoying. The healing and drawing.
I've been told that before, yes.
That's why the game's so fun. You can just make combos, so just to annoy your opponent, or you can make up like I'm gonna kill you immediately combos. But like it gets really fun because once you start playing more, you're like, oh, I'm not gonna let this guy do this to me on the first turn, right? So you just get, instead of getting like a really strong build for yourself, you're like, okay, I know this guy's gonna have save, and she's only got 10 HP and no defense. So there's like this firebomb card I think just kills her.
Okay, that's not so bad.
10. So like you're like, okay, I'm not gonna let that happen. And then you have to try to fight, make sure he's out of action so that you can blast this thing, so you can stop doing this thing.
Brian says that Sue the Balanced was definitely not balanced.
I disagree, but
it's a great card. I don't know what you're talking about.
Had that fight a bunch of times.
But one of the things I do like about the game, though, and I think Jared was sort of touching on this a little bit, is the order in which you reveal your cards becomes very important.
Yeah.
And so, like, obviously, if someone's face down, you can't use their ability unless there's something like an assassin, at which point you want someone to trip a wire in order to actually do that. But that allows you to play more guessing games with whether or not someone is going to attack, whether they're using thieves or warriors, which warriors tend to be very strong but not very good at defending themselves. And so there's a lot of opportunity to sort of bait people out. Which creates a lot of opportunities for very different strategies. But I think this game really shines when you and the other person have played enough to have like your own very core concept of what a meta would be and what someone is likely to do with the deck. And then start sort of counterplaying each other on that level.
You ever have one of your friends just pull out the craziest character that you never would have thought they would run?
I always hate seeing Zane.
Oh, Zane?
Oh, you like Zane?
I hate... well, no. Zane's great. I hate running into Zane, because I don't use him, but he's always a pain to deal with. I don't know what deck he would be in.
There's one thing also to talk about. So these characters have an SP value. I think it's short for supply. Supply. And stronger characters just have higher supply value. So that means that you can only have four supply of spots you can have. So some will take up 2 slots or 3 slots. And one of the characters you're talking about right now takes up 3. It's basically like a boss character.
Okay.
So they'll have a lot more stats, stronger abilities, and usually your build will be based off of either your hero, or I think eventually they started calling them villains. So they actually get that when they printed it, or was that afterwards?
I think at least as of the most recent one, they were referred to as villains, but I'd have to look back through. But yeah, your hero is usually going to be like level 2 and supply 1. Is there a lot of mid-range that are level 2 that come in as level 2 with supply 2? And then your villains are typically going to be supply 3 and either level 2 or 3.
Yeah, you can only start with your, I think supply 1 was the limitation. That's why you can start with a hero. But the level 2 gives you a... Yeah. There's 0 cards? So they're always tokens. I don't remember.
Yeah,
but,
the blue tactician's 0, I think. Isaac,
so there's Isaac, yeah. What do you call it? So the level determines how much experience you get when you kill him. So if your hero dies, they get a lot of experience for it, which can be very, very good. Is some of these terrains like grant abilities and things like that, or just make your character a lot stronger. This one's out here drawing 4 cards if you get to level 4.
I recognize some of these characters from some of the other games that Solis has put out, like Jin, the Dark King, and as you talked about Zane the Ender, I recognize them from Temporal Odyssey and from
Yeah.
Pocket Paragons. Do you guys know like how they decided on which characters to bring forward?
I don't know exactly. I know that Temporal Odyssey is a spiritual successor to this game. They play kind of similarly um, in terms of like the combat type. You're still building a party. You have like spells and abilities you shoot out, and so it takes place in the same universe for Temporal Odyssey.
Okay.
So it makes sense that most of those characters would carry over. But he did make some new ones for that as well.
It just seems like some of the character designs are so distinct. I'm surprised that I haven't seen them in other, iterations afterward,
Mm-hmm.
I think we might see a lot of them at some point, because I know that Chris is still working on things, but it'll be sort of like a nice nostalgic thing if it does happen too, just because I will say that I hate dealing with Zane, but it is still part of this thing that I enjoy so much. So there is that bit of nostalgia whenever he comes up.
Yeah. Brian says the secret reason for bringing characters forward is that they were the coolest ones. But I see some pretty cool ones here that I haven't seen in the other games. So I don't know.
Oh yeah, that's messed up. I have to look him up again because I was playing Zane in the Temporal Odyssey. Where he's also messed up. Just killed you.
I believe it.
Just murdered you. No,
he's got to get down and you've got to like not have a board state. But yeah, it's rough.
Yeah. Messes you up. Yeah, that's when he gives out 2 permanent status effects.
2 permanent status effects, like one of the ones over here on the left side?
Yeah.
Or right side, I guess.
Yeah. He's also pretty beefy too. Like he's not easy to get rid of in one fell swoop.
Well, you can't when you recruit him, you can't be targeted. So when you flip him up, and then you're like, oh, okay.
And he just gets to hang out.
Yeah. Well, you can still attack. You can
in like later.
Yeah, you can flip things up and attack on the same turn in this game, if I recall correctly. So in the newer games, you flip up and then you have to wait a turn, sort of like Magic.
Okay.
In the original one, you're just like flip, attack, die. You're like, oh, ouch. You had to be worried if people had cards in hand because like you can basically put a character from your hand into play, flip it up. Like putting a card from your hand into play, I don't think takes up an action.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, while you have priority, essentially, you can just start putting cards down. It only costs an action to flip face up. So I could have Zane in my hand, put him down, attack with him, the same turn. It can be brutal.
What would you say, like, some of your absolute favorite things about Terrene Odyssey is?
Oh, I'll let you go first, Jack.
I love it as a toolkit. Like, being able to go in and iterate on a bunch of different decks. You've got a number of different ways to build around specific archetypes, and just, like, let's say I wanted to build a beast-specific deck. Beasts are going to be characters that are going to deal high damage and probably be a little bit fragile with some nasty effects on the side, but I can build that 4 or 5 different ways, some of which are going to make me more of a glass cannon, some of which might make me try to do things a bit more circuitously, but I'm still going to be hitting you with a hammer at least once a turn. Or if I wanted to do something a bit more tricky, you've got things like tacticians or spellcasters, or even dealing with guardians and trying to go like through subversive routes in order to try to get someone down. You've got a lot of options.
Of that,
Yeah.
Cyrus, what do you think?
For me, I just love, like when I play Magic, my favorite thing to do is make decks. And for this, I could just make just a ton of different decks that do just stupid things. Like being able to make, so like when you go to make a deck in other card games, you're like, man, okay, I made this deck. I put all these copies of this card in my deck to make sure that I draw the hand that I want to draw to do the thing that I want to do. And in this game, you can just definitely at least attempt to do the thing you want to do. It might get messed up, but you can set it up and you know how your plan is going to start. and so you can try to set up what you want. You built the deck for it essentially, but then you always have to think about what's my opponent going to be doing. Is he just going to let me do that? Do I need to set up, do I need to set it up slower so that I am less of a glass cannon, or do I need to just go for it right off the bat? My first, my second, like, because if you're first, you don't get to attack on your first turn, and the second player gets to attack on their first turn. You're like, okay, well, maybe I want to be second here. So it's just really fun to think about deck building in a way where you know you're going to have a specific card, sort of like Commander.
Yeah.
In Magic, where you're like, I'm gonna at least have this commander. So I just had the rest of my deck be like, okay, I know I have this commander in my hand, basically, just make sure I can play it and do the things I want to do. And this one, kind of like that, your hero is basically your commander. You really don't build a deck without a hero. You can, but it's silliness because they're really good.
Yeah.
So and they all just do such unique things. It's fun to build around. Like I think my favorite deck that I've built so far is Sky Bloom, because she has it's one of the what do you call it? Kickstarter characters. And she basically just tries to draw a bunch of cards and fireball you to death, which you can't really do in the game with a lot of other characters. So you basically just want to play and get as many cards in your hands as you possibly can and just load somebody up. But in the meantime, she can use she's a spellcaster, so she discards cards for effects. Yeah. So she just has a bunch of different effects. It gives you a little more control over the game. So it's probably not one of those cards that's kind of irritating. So
she looks like a jack of all trades kind of character.
Yeah, well, she actually has pretty low health and defenses. Most heroes, I think, have like at least 30 HP. Yeah.
I pulled her out right there. She's 25 HP.
Yeah.
Is there anything about like developing this game or even just playing it that you kind of like have brought forward with you into like strategies for other games or anything like that?
Well, I think Jack has designed some of his own stuff, so he might have a better answer than that.
Yeah, just I hadn't really thought about it until, and I want to be careful not to plug my own stuff because I feel like that might be obnoxious. I designed a game called 5 Paths in which you have constantly shifting team compositions, and there's that counterplay aspect of like you deciding that you want to use a piece archetype versus someone else choosing theirs. And I'd started working on it not long after I'd learned to play Terrene Odyssey, so that was definitely an influence in that space to be like, I've only got 5 pieces on the board, but there's still a team composition aspect of this that is crucial to the way the rest of this game is going to play out, just from jump. And I could probably tie a pretty strong line from that to this.
Yeah, I think what I learned was if you're gonna make a strategy in like a versus game like this, you should immediately make the counter strategy or counter card for whatever exists in your game. And if you're making something like Zane, where he's supposed to be a surprise attack and he's untargetable, it better not be too terribly obnoxious, because that just lowers player interactivity, and that's kind of what you want more than anything, especially in like versus games. I think that's what most people really like about them compared to like regular tabletop games, is that you're playing against your opponent as much as the game, and you got to make sure that both players can still play the game.
Yeah,
I will say that is one thing that I don't think I've ever had that experience with this game. There's a difference between losing a game and not playing it.
Yeah.
Unless you're like just you've made a couple of mistakes and your complete board state has been shot, which at that point you're basically dead anyway. You're not going to see that shutout victory where there was no point in me sitting down because this is what it is. And even with the initial team composition, you're getting enough information about the other deck, and I think you're always playing the best 2 out of 3 rounds anyway.
Yeah.
There's always something you can do to try to adapt to the situation.
I think there was like a bonus or something. If you actually concede, you get like some kind of bonus on the next game.
Do you get to go first or something like that? I'm assuming.
I'm pretty sure you get to go first, or you get to choose. Some decks I just want to go second because I want to hit.
Yeah. Your team for going first versus going second is usually going to be different.
Oh, really? Do you get to change your layout like after knowing if you're going first or second?
Yeah.
That's really
essentially
interesting.
you don't technically have a starting loadout that's predetermined. The reason we have the predetermined ones in the book is for people when they're learning how to play. You don't have to go through your deck and pick the cards. But basically, what you do is you sit down. You might even have multiple terrains in your deck. You sit down, and you're like, okay, I'm going to play. This is the opening I'm going to do this time. And you pick the cards out. It could be any of the cards from your deck, except for the character restriction. There's no item or spell restriction if I recall correctly. There's nothing for those. So basically, you pick your 4 low-level characters, your terrain, and whatever 4 items or commands you want to bring with them. And it could be different every time. You could not even bring here. It could be in your deck, but you might have a start where you don't even want to bring them.
That's
it's
cool.
rare, but like sometimes we do that. Yeah.
Chris says that you get to draw extra cards if you scoop. So if you like knew that is there a chance that you like know that you're gonna lose really early and you choose to scoop early and withhold information from your opponent?
Yeah, like you could try to do your like the Insidious strategy that I was talking about earlier. Insidious is a creature or a character that has like only has 5 health. So usually, if you have any kind of response or any damage to them, you just blow them up, right? And so I could spend a bunch of cards to try to start hitting with this guy, and then you just keep killing him, and I'd be like, okay, I'm not going to be able to. He's got too much stuff for whatever I'm doing, and I might just be like, okay, I'll just go to the next game because I made too many mistakes and I got too far behind, and he's like, okay, well, I guess I'll just go to the next game, get some more cards,
So for your starting setup, you can change it between games as well. I'm sorry, I'm like having a hard time wrapping my head around it. Like you can pick anything from your deck and put it on the field to start.
Yeah, you pick any item or command, and then the characters have to be, I think, 1 SP or lower. You get 4 of those.
Okay. And there are more characters in your deck, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yes, hopefully.
Yeah, your deck can be composed of whatever you'd like, but obviously having characters is pretty strong.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, it gets kind of wild. That's why it seems kind of
only 4 characters.
Who would or who did?
I'm just trying to think of which hero would. Maybe.
I don't think anybody wants to do that. I don't think we encourage that on anybody.
Chris says sometimes
doesn't she? Because she gets stronger with the more supply that you've got available.
You still want the characters.
Sometimes your comp gets blown open early and it is in fact over, but also sometimes games are close and you wonder if you should scoop or not. Flavor wise, it was run. So like Flea versus Fight.
Okay. That makes sense.
Which makes a lot of sense also for like the JRPG party setup as well.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, when you're summoning your guys, it's called recruiting a character. And this is supposed to be like their, this is their item they might have in their bag they're going to use on you. Or if they're like a character that has special commands. I think you need a tactician for this one specifically. Yeah, so some commands will have like, basically what would be a job requirement. We're talking like Final Fantasy terms.
Mm.
Like there's one for warriors. I think there's one for each class has like a special command. Pretty cool. Like this haze bomb is really good with not the haze bomb, the smoke bomb. There's one that like turns your character back face down, and it's really good with assassins because they can only activate if they're face down.
That does seem really strong. I feel like I might have played a game with Zoe once upon a time, and I felt like she was really good. But
yeah,
Zoe's great.
Yeah, she's immune to commands. So it's fun to use. There's one command that hurts your character and an opponent's character. But since he's immune, she doesn't get hurt. And that's what when I would make the Zoe decks, I would usually use that one. I think it's called it's like a warrior command where you have to fight. I forgot the exact name of it though. What was it called? Aggressively engaged. That's what it's called.
Ooh. What is the significance of the level? Do you have to level them up if it's like a higher level?
Determines how much experience you receive for killing it.
Okay.
It also increases the efficacy of a spellcaster, because spells will have like a level 1 activation and then a level 2, and then I think it goes up to level 3.
Yeah, do we have any spells out here?
Yeah, hold on. I would have brought that out.
Probably hiding somewhere.
Shadow Veil. So yeah, as you can see,
Spellcasters really like to level up.
Okay. Wait, so you can have your spellcaster gain levels and they get like the XP on the character?
Yes.
So you don't go up in level until you hit like 3 or 4 XP. Gaining XP in the meantime just gives you the benefit of whatever your terrain is, plus getting you closer to a level up. In most cases, I think it's, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's a counterbalance against like one character that's just doing too well. So for example, Sammy is super scary and effective, and if Sammy is leveled up to level 3, great, she's got a lot of extra boons, but I'm also going to get a much better reward for defeating her because I get 3 experience for that instead of the standard 1 that I would get for killing a level 1.
Right.
And if I get 3 experience in one fell swoop, then I'm getting a lot of benefits all at once. Because it would trigger for each level, or for each tier of the terrain.
Is there any, like, would Sammy be stronger if she had more experience on her?
Yeah, so if you look at this, the terrain, basically whenever you kill something, based on whatever experience marker you're putting on the character, you get that bonus. Like, for example, if you're looking at Hot Springs, when the character gets its first experience point, it heals 10 HP, or you can heal a different character 10 HP. When a character gets its second experience point, you can gain 5 permanent defense, and then you can draw 2 cards. So basically, the higher this number is, the better the effects. And you notice this one causes your character to level up, which, unless you're a spellcaster, is a detriment. So for spellcasters, lets them cast their spells at a higher level. And this lets you heal yourself for 15 or another target character. So basically, your terrain kind of, you want to pick a terrain that's really good for your strategy, and that's one of the ways to kind of tell what your opponent's trying to do is if you can look at their terrain, see their level up path, as well as these effects they can do based on controlling a character. So we kind of touched on this earlier, but your party comp and the sigils on top can also, it's also important to gameplay, because there's a free effect I can do every turn, as long as I have a Earth and a Wind character. And you can see once per turn, heal target character 5 HP, and I can remove all the status effects from that character.
Okay.
So you can see, like, I'm sure the Seaside Market does some shenanigans with drawing a card, I'm sure, for Jack's strategy.
That doesn't sound like something I would do.
So you notice that effect that was on the Guardian is also on this terrain. So as long as he has a water-based character, it doesn't even have to be this Ashen guy. He can still do the 1 action draw card.
Okay.
And if he has 2, guess what? He can do multiple times.
He does it all. Hi, Drunk Crunk. Yes, it is Mr. Jack Vandalore himself, I'm assuming.
Or himself. Hi, how's it going?
Yeah, and if he briefly pulled out that Insidious card that I was talking about, that I would search up with one of the other tacticians, and if you notice that it is actually level 2.
Mm-hmm.
So if you interact with this thing, it's immune to items. I think immune to items, right? But you can hit with spells.
Yeah, I have it over here if you want to look at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then he has another effect that if you block him, your character gains retaliate, which means it hits back. So in this game, when your character blocks, they don't do any of their damage back. They just take damage. They just block.
Okay.
But the there's an ability called Retaliate that makes them also hit back. And so if you block this guy and your character has any attack, oh no, Retaliate's based on defense.
Yeah, so I think so.
Defense.
Yeah, Retaliate's based on defense. So if they have no block, then it doesn't help them at all.
Yeah, but if they have any defense and they block this thing, he'll take it. 5 is the lowest amount of damage you can do in the game. So basically, if you block it, you kill it, and then you get 2 experience. So if somehow your character blocks and survive, you can get a huge bonus out of this. Or if you just have a spellcaster, you just blast him.
That seems really neat. I really like the design of Insidious. I think it's a cool card.
Yeah, he was one of the first broken cards. He's still kind of busted, but he was involved in the you just die before you can do anything cards. The other one was basically Black Lotus.
Nice.
I was like, Chris, why'd you print Black Lotus? What's going on here? But then I remembered he's a Yu-Gi-Oh guy. It was called Energy Potion. You've probably never seen it. It is gone so fast. I'm like, you can't have this. This is bad.
Sometimes you just gotta have broken stuff. I don't know.
I think we tried to do it with just making 2, but then like, if you ever got more than one of the cards, and you're just like, well, check out this turn with my 8 actions. You're just like, okay, I guess I die. That was actually one of my other friends, Chris, who was going to Academy of Art as well. He, I think he busted it with. He made a Skylar deck with. He would start with it was stamina potion, and it gave you 3 actions. It cost 0 and gave you 2. That's what it did. And he would just spell cast you to death because you're not allowed to attack on your first turn. But by golly, you're allowed to have like 6 or 7 actions and just blast.
Oh, that's wild.
so I was like, oh.
Did you do that with him being face down?
I think you could back then.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
Brian says Energy Potion was 1 action, gain 2 actions. Seems like economy to me.
Right?
What Brian would call value.
You gotta love value.
A term I heard a lot when playtesting with Brian. It's value. Okay. Like Chogan is infinite value.
It makes me think there's no wonder he likes Sammy. Sammy seems like value.
Yeah.
Sammy is
Max
so valuable.
That's my fault. It's my bad.
I think the thing that's unique about Sammy is just about every card in this set has a card that it synergizes with, at least one card, probably more than one card that it synergizes with very well. Sammy is good wherever you put her. Sammy is fully self-sustaining. And if she happens to synergize with something, it's just better.
Oh man, she's synergizing with this tactician right now. This says 1 action, activate this. That's a
plateau.
That's a stamina potion with extra steps. No.
She's what was I want to say it's the plateau. It's one of the terrains that favors wind-based characters. But if you have 2 wind-based characters down, you get an extra action.
Yeah.
And it's great.
Like
it just
the plateau, I think.
It just goes. Yeah. I think it's the plateau. I could be misremembering that in exchange for another terrain.
Sammy's in Temporal? I don't remember seeing her.
Yep.
But I'm excited to see her in Trifold.
Ooh, I can't wait for Trifold.
Looking at the terrains again. That's fun. Designing all this stuff. I remember we would. What happened? There was like a weird problem with like one of the basic rules that we had. We're going over the rule book, and I was getting close to when he was trying to release it, and just like we had to like pull an all-nighter. We ended up at like a Sherry's, the pie place.
Yeah.
Just eating pie, trying to figure out how to fix this rule book. I think it had something to do with the chain. It was Nathan again. He would always find some random stuff and be like, actually, this breaks the game. And we'd be like, God.
Not another one.
Yeah, maybe like system-wide things. And they're like, oh no. We'll be like, oh, this card breaks the game. It's like, oh no, since things work like this, it's gonna make this mechanic break down like over and over again. So,
I
oh man.
definitely I used to be a magic judge, so I definitely when I look at a
Oh,
card, I have that like breakdown, and I'm like, I think this might break the game. But I'm looking at like games that are in development and things like that.
That
probably
skill
be
set,
much
yeah,
better at
because
it
when
now.
I still played, when I still played, I was a blue combo player, and so breaking things or trying to find ways to get really obnoxious helps when you try to like stress test games.
Chris says he
Uh,
remembers that night at the pie place.
yeah, just burn it in your memory because it was like the unfun part about designing the game was just like, oh, it felt like you're a programmer and something there's like a bug and you're like, ah, you get rid of the bug. You feel like that wouldn't happen with a tabletop game, but sometimes it does. And it looks like I was right. I think the resourceful they did get changed to once per turn.
As it
Definitely not
should.
always once per turn. Yeah.
We can't be having infinite combos, you know?
I mean, you can. It's fun as long as it's not like impossible to stop.
I'm a
Like
combo
a turn
hater.
7 or turn 8
Are
combo
you?
is
Oh
probably
no! It's
like
just
the
like
early game
I
infinite
think
combos are bad, but
you know, I think
if you've got to build
I'm
toward it,
probably jaded from other card games having infinite combos. I'm like, this is fine. This happens all the time. But then when I think about it, the big problem with it is the recursive action that's usually being taken, and that's usually not fun for the other player when you're just doing something over and over again. It's boring.
Yeah, it's really awful. I'm a big, like, I don't know. If you have the combo, you need to show it to me and be able to explain it. And if they can't do
Yeah,
that, then like it just gets tedious and annoying.
yeah. I don't
I
think
will
his
say like a 12
combo.
step combo is bad.
You know, I think the
Like
problem with the combo too was that it wasn't guaranteed. He had to go through it.
yeah, that's a problem.
Yeah,
Like I think was if it's like a good 2 or 3 part combo that can actually just go off really quickly and you're like, okay, this is just what this means, it's over, it's fine. But if you've got
yeah.
to do math like 6 times during the course of the resolution, then don't waste that time.
Yeah,
Yeah. But when you start your turn, all of your cards are face down, right?
yeah. When the game
Beginning of the
starts,
game,
they're
yeah.
all face down.
So the terrain as well, or no?
You flip that at the very beginning, so you would have it face down. You try to figure out. You would know who goes first, and then you would reveal terrains after everybody's picked their cards. That way, they don't have a handle on what you're trying to do, and they can then try to counterpick.
Okay. So
Because you get multiple terrains in your deck as well.
on your turn one, do you have the ability to flip everything face up, or do you pick
No,
one?
You've got the
your
ability
terrain
to
gives
pick
you
or to put 4 things
Four
yeah.
things.
So you start
Okay.
with 4 actions. I believe second player gets. Does the second player get 5 actions?
on their first
I
turn, yeah.
think we.
As like
Yeah, I think it's 5.
just for the first turn or for their first turn.
Yeah, because our idea was that sort of like the coin, I guess, in Hearthstone. Um, you just get an extra because they get they're getting their cards first, I believe. So I don't think you get a card advantage; you just get the action advantage, and that lets you. I think the idea was to make sure that the person could attack before the other person, because flipping your characters up, maybe you flip some items. You want you to be able to at least apply some pressure with that extra action for going second.
Okay. If Chris's first turn player got 1 or 2 actions, something like that.
Oh, but do we reduce the actions for the first turn player?
Maybe.
Not as of the most recent one. I think they get 4 and then like the second player gets more, but realistically you're only going to want to use 1 or 2 on turn 1. There's
Okay.
it's not a counterspell per se, but assassins in particular, because turn 2 can attack first. I want to at least make you think that I can pop up an assassin if you decide to attack. So I'm not necessarily going to use all 4. It's not efficient to use all 4 because you just leave yourself exposed. And that would also
Okay.
apply to any items that you might be holding or commands.
Has
Yeah, as you can see
Go ahead.
in the book, you see how there's 2 different loadouts.
Oh, yeah.
Is that
Okay.
oh, look, there's a quote from me in here. Nice. That's me.
Was it
Yeah,
always
Blaze in the
50 player health?
Yeah, no, it used to be 100.
Oh, so you used to start at 100. How did you decide to bring it
Yeah,
down?
I think the games were too long. That's a better question. I think the games were going too long.
I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, because I think we cut it in half, and we didn't change any of the attack numbers and stuff. It's like, I think you were still dying though in the first version. I think you're just dying from 100 though. That's messed
Silly
up. That's what messed up the
combos.
game was. You're twice as much health, but you still die on turn two. It's messed up stuff.
Chris says it's always been
Hey.
50 on print. It's basically 10 HP.
Oh, okay,
So
that makes sense.
the 100 would have been before it was
Oh,
real,
yeah.
you
It
know?
was paper. It was messed up. It's just a young wee lad. But the Blazing the Psyche was modeled after one of my friends who passed away, and we got one of his friends was an artist. So Lamar Thomas is the one who did the art for Blaze, and I think Megan did some of the coloring and stuff. I'm not exactly sure how that was divided, but he definitely did like the line art and stuff.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, we gave him. He's an assassin, and his gamer tag was Dark Mike, the guy who passed away, and so we made him an assassin, and he's a special assassin because he can flip up with no cost. You don't have to pay. So
That's a really neat
when you're
tribute.
attacking, yeah, so he's sneaky. It was cool. We figured because met him through playing Smash, and he had a pretty cool play style. He'd always think about what he was doing. So I had him so he could copy people's abilities. If he kills the character, he can copy it, take its abilities.
Oh, that's so neat. It's definitely something I see about Terrene Odyssey. It definitely hasn't lost any of its heart. Like, there's a lot of heart in this game between all of like the Kickstarter backers and I don't know, all of the interesting character art and cards. It's a very cozy feeling to me.
Yeah, and so another thing to talk about, like counterplay. A lot of the way to counterplay assassins is when you flip them up. If you hit them with a silence orb, which is one of the items that was over here, their ability doesn't work.
Oh, that's cool.
And so I made an assassin that doesn't have, most assassins have a special effect added on to their damage. This one doesn't. It just does the 20 damage. So it's the basic effect, but it's more consistent because has immunity to being silenced. But it's the only one. So if you're like, I really need to kill something, I'll use the javelin. Counterplay to the counterplay, right?
Yeah, but Blaze would be your hero, right? So
yeah. So you can still get silence orb, but then you might just do something of like I think it just really sucks when you silence. Try to make sure it doesn't happen. That's just true for most things, though. Basically, like a stifle.
Oh, Brian loves the
stifle.
silence orb. He said silence orb in all caps. Is this a value thing?
Oh, it's absolutely valuable.
It's value, and it's also it fixes. Don't say fixes, but it solves a lot of problems, wide range problems that it solves just by blinking a character text box.
The art of Silence Orb is the background behind the symbols on the Season 1 Pocket Paragons cards.
Dang.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I never knew that. That's so cool. Little Easter egg.
Dropping velour.
I have to spend a lot of time looking at Silence Orb.
Kind of hypnotizing.
Fun thing about items and counterplay, another discussion, I guess, since I was doing the balancing, it's probably what I had the most opinions on. But I should say we somehow, nobody figured there should be a way to get rid of things out of the graveyard. So
like exiling?
like exiling from the graveyard, because there's some cards that will go to the graveyard, you can use them still, and there's like one of the villains would just he would use cards from the graveyard, banish them from the graveyard to kill characters. Just kill them, just defeat target character, just banish like 5 cards or something. But there's no way to like interact with the graveyards. Once the item got in there, you're just like, oh, okay, well, I guess eventually I will die to Gundren.
Thieves can steal from the graveyard, can't they?
Yeah, I think there's one, and it's Shogun. He's busted, but there was no like item just to like. We wanted an item to deal with, just generically deal with situations, right? We didn't want to have you to be in any specific type of deck to be able to interact with your opponent, essentially. And there was no item that just got rid of cards from the graveyard. We had to make one up. I'm not sure if it got in the game. I don't think it did. It's called Shovel.
Yeah, Chris said the TTS build has 10 unreleased cards that fixes the problems you found, including Shovel.
Oh, nice.
So they're here somewhere.
Wonder what decks they got put into. Does you know if they got put in any of the pre-cons? They probably didn't.
I don't know. They're probably in the deck lists. Are they fold? They're all fold.
I think these are all based on the pre-cons that
original.
were in the rulebook.
I see.
Because there was another character, like it wasn't just Gundren. The main character that was causing a problem was this guy, the spellcaster control guy. His name is Gregory. Not Gregory. Mr. White. His name is Mr. White, isn't it? The spellcaster guy.
Gregory. This guy?
This Gregory. No, this fish-looking guy. Spellcaster control.
It was Mr. White.
Mr. White.
His name is actually Mr. White. It predates Breaking Bad, I think, didn't it?
Probably.
Breaking Bad come out.
This guy is just alien Walter White.
Basically.
That's my head canon now.
But his ability to loop spells is really, really messed up sometimes. But there's no way to like get rid of the spell from the graveyard. Like even Gregory, I think he can only hit items. Not Gregory, Shogun. I think he can only hit items, so you still wouldn't be able to mess with it. Also, having to attack and then hit a character, and then so I can get rid of one card when that ability that he has is a blue, which it turned to green. You nerfed?
Yeah, I think that was probably a check to do that. Although it is making me think of Alexi's ultimate and how broken that is, since there isn't that much graveyard, or that there isn't that much discard control. Because I'm kind of amazed that he slipped past the radar.
He's green. Oh man, I had the printed card here. It definitely was blue. So there were a list of updates we wanted to do. These probably has all the updates too. Yeah, it's good because that was some nasty stuff. Because you'd be like, okay, I'll get this back. Your turn. Okay, I'm gonna get this back, and then you just get blown up by these stupid spells.
Mr. White predates Breaking Bad. It was named a friend, Jonathan White.
Yeah.
And Brian says Mr. White reusing Shadow Veil was my all-time favorite
Shadow
deck.
Veil.
Infinite value.
Yeah, Shadow Veil is a spell. Well, it must be the nerfed one in here. I wonder what it was.
Right here.
Is it?
It's
green. Okay, that was blue too. Basically, the green is basically it's a sorcery now. And the blue makes it was an instant. And if you hide a character, they can't block. No, it was blue. This other card was busted in half. I forgot about the cards that were just absolutely busted in half.
It's great. I'm kind of sad that it's green now, because that would be a good way to stop someone from just swinging at you.
So the only way to tell the difference would be if it's green or it's blue between sorcery?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's got to be an icon for that.
Yeah. We weren't really...
Maybe in a future version.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think... Oh, no. Okay, I was going to say in Temporal Odyssey, but then stop being able to even interact with your opponent.
I don't think there are any spellcasters in Temporal, are there?
There has to be. I don't know though. I didn't do a whole lot of development on that one.
I'm not sure.
Playtesting.
Brian says if they attacked, you could hide them and interrupt the attack. It would cost them 2 actions: the action they lost on the attack and the one to resummon the unit. for Shadow Veil.
Yep.
Another word, value.
That is some value. Kind of nasty.
Hidden characters also can't block.
Yeah, but then they're
their
safe and
card is-
sound under there, right?
Oh yeah, I bet.
Although the funny thing is, you can get benefits from hiding your own characters as well. If they have any sort of effect that triggers, like sort of like an ETB in Magic, if you have any effect that triggers when they turn face up, and you turn them face down again, you're kind of daring someone to do something. Assassins are the most obvious example, but you've got, I think that was that broken combo I had with Zoe for a while, because she would just search for a scout as soon as she turned face up.
Mm-hmm.
And I think she reduced their supply cost too, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, they should. I think they reduce them to 0 so that you can have them out with other characters.
I'm really sad that Shadow Veil is sorcery speed now. That makes me super upset.
It does not make me upset at all. I'm not sure that card should be able to hit your opponent's characters. I don't think. I don't think it's a good play pattern. It's just so.
Chris says the SP3 guys are in Temporal and in Trifold, and the busted characters that graduated from this game. So some spellcasters.
Are there any? I guess Demate would be a sort of a spellcaster.
Oh, even like a big spellcaster.
Yeah.
Big boys. Yeah, the villains didn't all get. I don't think there's a villain for each thing, if I recall correctly. One of them's just a golem.
Oh yeah, he was immune to all storms or something. He was just super beefy, like he was a 2020 or something.
We buffed him to just be immune to status effects. You just can't hit him with status effects.
We love
Still
being
get Shadow
immune.
Veil though.
Oh.
Still get Shadow Veil. Stupid card.
All right. Well, we're nearing the end of the stream now. I guess for some closing thoughts, just how do you feel about Terrene Odyssey now?
I still want more people to play it with. Like, I would love to see like a local circuit or something with people that I could regularly get really, really mad at for finding new ways to exploit things.
Bring Terrene Odyssey back.
Please.
Yeah, there was a short period of time when they were there was the place, the Foundry. We could go and play with people, and that was like a fun. But it was only like 2 or 3 weeks, I think, where I was able to just play with people who I hadn't met before. They just had their own Terrene Odyssey decks, and it was so sick.
Oh, that's cool. It's always so nice when you start growing the community.
Yeah. But yeah, for me, I would say I'm in the same boat. Sam, I would like to just have more people play. I think it's a really great game as long as we can, update, fix things. That is great that TTS has the changes in it, because we discussed like possibly, releasing either a second set or just a small update set for the really, really busted cards.
Yeah.
So I'm glad the changes made it in here. Because playing against Mr. White with no way to exile his stuff is just so. It's repetitive. It's the problem.
You have to be faster, that's all.
Murder, man.
We just need a new set then, yeah?
I think so.
Yeah. I would be first in line to back that.
Chris says, final fact, the artist that made the 3 SP dudes went to make D&D cover art.
Awesome.
Yeah, the art on those are really good.
That's pretty cool.
What's his name?
Okay, well,
Yeah.
thanks everyone for tuning in for our Terrene Odyssey 10 years later stream. I hope that you enjoyed it and you got some good info, and it was nice reminiscing about Terrene Odyssey. I'm not as connected to it as Jack and Sarah's here, but it was lovely hearing how both of you are connected to the game.
Thank you for hosting.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks everybody. Have a wonderful night, and thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next week for our next live stream. Bye-bye.
Bye.